The signal came on a Tuesday, a faint pattern buried in cosmic background noise that nobody would have noticed if not for Dr. Alan Carter's new algorithm. He stared at his computer screen, heart racing as the pattern repeated. After 20 years, at NASA he knew this was it, proof we weren't alone. "Someone check this," he called to his team, voice steadier than his hands. Within hours, the observatory buzzed with activity. Government officials arrived in unmarked cars. The president was briefed. For 3 days, they analyzed the signal, confirming it wasn't natural or human-made. Lisa Patel arrived on Friday. The linguist had been flown in from Berkeley on a military jet, her expertise in pattern recognition making her the perfect person to decipher what everyone now accepted was an alien message. "It's structured like language," she explained, pointing to recurring segments in the signal. "See these repeating elements? They're building blocks, like words or phrases." Weeks passed as teams worked around the clock. Lisa barely slept, fueled by coffee and the thrill of the greatest linguistic challenge in human history. Then one morning she burst into the conference room where Alan sat with military and scientific leaders. "I've got it," she said, eyes bright with excitement. "It's an invitation." The message contained mathematical principles establishing common understanding, followed by what Lisa interpreted as coordinates for a meeting and information about the senders, a collective called the Galactic Council. "They're inviting Earth to join them," she explained, "as equals." News of first contact spread worldwide, despite attempts to control the information. Humanity reacted with a mix of fear, hope, and wonder. Religious leaders sought meaning, scientists craved knowledge, and ordinary people looked to the stars with new eyes. Ambassador John Reynolds was selected to lead Earth's first diplomatic team. A calm veteran of international negotiations, he assembled experts in various fields to prepare for the meeting at the designated coordinates, just beyond Mars. "This is humanity's greatest moment," he told the press. "We step onto the galactic stage not as conquerors but as partners." Engineers worked frantically to prepare a ship capable of reaching the meeting point. Nations pooled resources in unprecedented cooperation. For once, humanity stood united. The day of departure approached. The diplomatic vessel, Earth's most advanced spacecraft, underwent final checks. Ambassador Reynolds recorded messages for posterity. The world watched and waited. Then everything changed. The ships appeared without warning, not at the meeting point near Mars, but directly over Earth. Massive vessels that dwarfed anything humans had built. They blocked out the sun in some regions, causing immediate panic. "This isn't right," Alan said, watching radar screens fill with objects. The coordinates were clear. They weren't supposed to come here. Military channels exploded with chatter. Fighter jets scrambled worldwide, looking like toys next to the alien vessels. Lisa worked frantically to establish communication, sending greeting messages based on the pattern she'd deciphered. The response came as blinding light. The first beam struck Washington, D.C., vaporizing the central government district in seconds. Before anyone could process what happened, more beams struck Beijing, Moscow, London, and dozens of other cities. "It was a trap," Lisa whispered, watching live feeds of destruction. "I got it wrong." But she hadn't. Later analysis would confirm her translation was perfect. The message had indeed been an invitation, just not one meant for peace. Ambassador Reynolds, speaking from an emergency bunker, addressed surviving government officials. "We've been deceived in the most fundamental way possible. They presented themselves as civilized while planning our destruction. As night fell on that first terrible day, humanity faced an enemy beyond their technology and understanding. The Galactic Council had arrived not to welcome Earth, but to conquer it. And nobody knew why." Dr. Alan Carter, looking at the burning horizon, made a quiet promise. "They think we're done. They're wrong. This isn't the end of humanity. It's just the beginning of our fight." The world changed overnight. Major cities burned as alien ships moved methodically across the globe. The Axoni Dominion, as they called themselves in broadcasts that overrode all Earth communications, struck with surgical precision. Military bases, power plants, and communication centers were hit first, followed by government facilities and transportation hubs. Captain Olivia Martinez watched the destruction from the International Space Station. Their orbit gave them a horrifying, panoramic view of the systematic devastation below. "We need to do something," she told her crew of 6. "We might be the only military personnel with any functioning equipment." The station had been retrofitted with experimental defense systems the year before. Nothing that could challenge the alien armada, but enough to gather intelligence. Olivia redirected their sensors to study the invaders' ships, recording energy, signatures, and communication patterns. On Earth, cities not yet hit descended into chaos. Millions fled urban areas, clogging highways. Those who stayed faced the reality of alien occupation as landing craft deployed ground forces, 8-foot-tall beings in sealed armor that shrugged off most weapons. Lieutenant Eric Foster was leading an evacuation in Chicago when he noticed something strange. His radio kept experiencing interference whenever the aliens used their energy weapons. After 3 such incidents, he started recording the pattern. "The interference peaks at specific frequencies," he told his team, "and I swear I saw one of their soldiers stagger when we were near the radio tower." Foster's discovery spread through military channels still functioning on backup systems. In bunkers and makeshift bases, human forces began experimenting with broadcasting at those frequencies. The results were immediate. Alien troops became disoriented, their coordination disrupted. It wasn't enough to win, but it was something. Meanwhile, the Axoni commander broadcast Earth's new reality. "Your world has been allocated to the Dominion by Galactic Council decree. Pre-spacefaring civilizations hold no sovereign rights. Resistance will bring greater suffering." President Linda Howard, operating from a mobile command center, refused to surrender. "We may be new to their galaxy," she told military leaders, "but we've been fighting for survival since we crawled from the oceans." By the end of the first month, half of Earth's surface was under direct alien control. The Axoni established processing centers where humans were registered and assigned to labor groups. Those with scientific or technical knowledge were separated for special projects. Resistance formed organically. Small groups at first, mostly military and police, using guerrilla tactics against alien patrols. They discovered the invaders had limited night vision, relying heavily on technology that could be disrupted by Foster's frequency discovery. Dr. William Chen, a physicist who escaped from an alien research facility, brought critical information to the resistance. "They're mining something," he reported. "Something in our planet's crust they consider extremely valuable. That's why they came." Small victories accumulated. A resistance cell in Brazil destroyed an alien mining operation. Fighters in Kenya ambushed a supply convoy. Underground networks formed to share intelligence and resources. The Axoni responded with brutal efficiency, leveling entire neighborhoods where resistance was detected. But for every cell destroyed, 2 more formed. 6 months into the occupation, humanity had adapted. Hidden bases operated in abandoned subway systems, remote mountain ranges, and undersea facilities. Engineers repurposed alien technology. Farmers grew food in concealed locations. Captain Martinez and her crew, who had managed to keep the space station operational and hidden by mimicking debris, finally made contact with ground forces. Their orbital data proved invaluable for mapping alien movements. "They thought this would be easy," Olivia said during a rare secure transmission to resistance leaders. "They expected submission, but they've never faced humans before." The invaders controlled much of Earth, but they were learning a painful lesson. Declaring victory and achieving it were very different things. Humanity was bloodied but unbroken, and the real fight was just beginning. 6 months into the alien occupation, humanity had transformed. What began as scattered resistance cells had evolved into an organized underground network spanning continents. The survivors called it simply the network. Dr. William Chen worked in a repurposed subway maintenance tunnel 30 feet beneath Boston. Once a theoretical physicist, he now led a team developing weapons based on Lieutenant Foster's frequency discovery. The Axoni nervous system responds to specific radio wavelengths, he explained to a group of engineers. We've refined the disruptors to target their neural pathways without affecting humans. His latest prototype resembled a bulky rifle with odd antenna arrays. It didn't fire bullets but instead emitted targeted energy pulses that could incapacitate an Axoni soldier for several minutes. The weapons weren't lethal yet, but they provided enough advantage for hit-and-run operations. In Wyoming, former Navy SEAL Daniel Morris trained civilians in a hidden mountain facility. Men and women who 6 months ago had been teachers, accountants, and store clerks now moved silently through obstacle courses, learned close combat techniques, and practiced ambush tactics. The aliens have better technology, Daniel told his recruits, but they fight like they've never faced real opposition. They're predictable. We're not. The Resistance's greatest breakthrough came from engineer Samantha Lewis. Working with salvaged alien components, she developed a cloaking system that masked human heat signatures from Axoni scanners. It won't make us invisible, she cautioned, as Resistance fighters tested her vests. But it buys us about 3 minutes before their systems compensate. 3 minutes was often enough to complete a mission and disappear. The network's most daring operation came when a team led by Major Greg Alvarez captured an alien officer during a raid on a processing facility in Arizona. They transported their prisoner to a secure location beneath an abandoned mine, where Dr. Chen had prepared specialized containment. The alien, once separated from its armor, appeared less monstrous than expected, humanoid with bluish skin, 4 eyes, and 6-fingered hands. Using translation software developed from intercepted communications, Dr. Chen established basic communication. "Why Earth?" he asked after days of simpler exchanges. The Axoni officer seemed confused by the question. It was allocated. The council decided. Further questioning revealed the structure of the galaxy as the invaders understood it. The Galactic Council comprised 12 advanced species who had divided known space into spheres of influence. Primitive worlds with valuable resources were allocated to different council members for exploitation. Your world has rare elements needed for dimensional drives, the Axoni explained. Pre-spacefaring species have no rights under council law. The most valuable information came when the officer revealed the location of the nearest council communication hub, an orbital station around Mars that coordinated all Axoni operations in the solar system. When this intelligence reached network leadership, a bold plan formed. If they could infiltrate the Mars hub, they might access the Axoni command network and potentially find weaknesses in their occupation strategy. A team was assembled for what seemed like a suicide mission. Samantha's stealth technology would be crucial. Dr. Chen provided frequency weapons. Daniel would lead the tactical element. They called it Operation Trojan Horse. The plan required something seemingly impossible, a spacecraft capable of reaching Mars undetected. This challenge led to the revelation of secrets some human governments had kept for decades. Representatives from 4 national intelligence agencies approached network leadership with an offer. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, they unveiled documentation of classified space programs that had operated in parallel to public agencies like NASA. "We've had limited interplanetary capability for 15 years, explained a former intelligence director. It was kept secret to prevent panic or an arms race in space. 3 stealth vessels designed for reconnaissance beyond Earth orbit had survived the invasion hidden in underground hangars. One could reach Mars in 2 weeks using experimental drives. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a chance to strike back where it would truly hurt." As the team prepared for departure, a new sense spread through the Resistance, not just defiance, but hope. The stealth vessel approached Mars under minimal power, its hull modified with Samantha's cloaking technology. Inside, the infiltration team of 6 prepared for their mission. Kevin Jackson, a former cybersecurity specialist with a talent for breaking impossible systems, reviewed the intelligence gathered on Axoni networks. "Their security is advanced but predictable," he told the others. "They've never needed to defend against someone who understands their architecture." The Martian orbital hub loomed ahead, a massive structure of interconnected rings surrounding a central sphere. It controlled all Axoni communications in the solar system and served as their primary intelligence center. "Approach vector locked," said pilot Andrea Miller, her hands steady despite the stakes. "We'll dock at an automated maintenance port. The station's systems should register us as a routine service drone." Daniel Morris led the tactical briefing one final time. "We have 3 objectives: access their central database, download strategic information, and get out alive. We'll have 40 minutes before security protocols detect anomalies." The vessel docked with a gentle thud. Samantha's tech had worked. No alarms sounded. The team moved through the maintenance airlock wearing modified Axoni armor taken from captured soldiers. Dr. Chen's frequency modulators on their belts would disrupt any Axoni who got too close. The station's corridors were mostly automated, with only occasional alien personnel. The team moved efficiently through service passages mapped from the prisoners' intelligence. When they encountered Axoni guards, Daniel's hand signals guided them to either avoid or neutralize the threat with frequency weapons. They reached the central data hub 15 minutes after boarding. Kevin immediately set to work connecting his specialized equipment to Axoni interfaces. "Their entire system is open to me," he whispered with disbelief. "They've never been hacked before. There's barely any internal security." While Kevin downloaded massive data caches, Dr. Michelle Rodriguez, a xenobiologist added to the team at the last minute, examined the station's layout displayed on nearby screens. "Look at these design schematics," she said. "Their weapon systems, their ships, they're all variations on the same technology they've used for centuries." Daniel joined her. "What are you seeing?" "Innovation stagnation," Michelle explained. "These species haven't fought a real war in thousands of years. They've just been harvesting undefended worlds. Their technology is advanced but hasn't been tested against determined resistance." Kevin continued downloading critical intelligence, fleet movements, command structures, and most importantly, technical specifications for Axoni weapons and defenses. "I found something else," he said suddenly. "Communications between council members. There's disagreement about Earth. Some think we should have been approached peacefully." "Save it all," Daniel ordered. Their 40 minutes elapsed too quickly. An alarm sounded somewhere in the distance. "We're blown," Andrea warned through their comms. "Multiple security teams converging on your position." The team moved to their extraction route, a maintenance shaft leading back to the docking port. 2 Axoni guards appeared at an intersection, but collapsed instantly when Samantha triggered her frequency device. They never expected anyone to board their station, Daniel realized as they ran. Their internal security is minimal. They reached the ship with security forces closing in. Andrea had the engines primed and launched the moment the airlock sealed. Axoni vessels scrambled to pursue them, but the stealth systems combined with Michelle's quick analysis of their sensor blind spots allowed them to slip away. As Mars receded behind them, Kevin began processing the stolen data. The team gathered around his workstation, watching as technical schematics, strategic plans, and communication logs filled the screens. "This is more than we hoped for," Michelle said. "They've categorized Earth as a Class 3 resistance, something they haven't faced in over 500 years. The most valuable discovery was evidence of the fundamental weakness in Axoni military doctrine. Their entire strategy assumed conquest of primitive worlds would meet only token resistance that would collapse once major population centers were controlled. "They don't understand us at all," Daniel said. "They have no concept of guerrilla warfare or asymmetric resistance." As their ship raced back toward Earth, the team knew they carried something precious. Not just intelligence, but the key to humanity's counterattack. For the first time since the invasion began, they had more than just hope. They had a path to victory. The Mars mission team returned to Earth heroes, but with no time for celebration. The data they recovered revealed something no one had anticipated. The Axoni's military advantage was primarily psychological. Their technology, while advanced, had critical vulnerabilities that stemmed from centuries of unchallenged dominance. Colonel Frank Wilson called an emergency meeting of resistance leaders at their Rocky Mountain headquarters. The grizzled veteran had commanded special forces before the invasion. Now he revealed humanity's best-kept secret. "What I'm about to show you required presidential authorization to disclose," he said, leading them through a heavy blast door that hadn't existed on their facility maps. The elevator descended for nearly 2 minutes. When the doors opened, the team stood speechless. Before them stretched an underground hangar containing sleek spacecraft unlike anything publicly known. "Black budget projects," Frank explained. 5 nations independently developed space combat vessels over the past decade. "We've been hiding them since the invasion." The hangar contained 12 completed ships with 20 more in various stages of assembly. They resembled fighter jets but larger, with unusual propulsion systems and weapons mounts. "We've been building more since the invasion, using materials smuggled from Axoni supply depots," Frank said. "But without knowing their weaknesses, launching them would have been suicide." Engineer Patricia Garcia led them through the facility. The former NASA specialist had been recruited for classified projects years earlier. "These vessels use hybrid technology," she explained. "Some human innovations, some reverse-engineered from a crash we recovered in 2018. That incident never made the news. The team's data changed everything." Patricia's engineers immediately began integrating the Axoni vulnerabilities into human weapon systems. Dr. Nathan Phillips, a quantum physicist who had survived the destruction of Berkeley, developed shields based on the frequency modulation principles Chen had discovered. "Their energy weapons operate on predictable patterns," Nathan explained to the engineering team. "We can create interference fields that reduce their effectiveness by 70%. In similar facilities around the world, humanity secretly prepared its counterstrike. Underground factories in abandoned mines and submerged shipyards in remote ocean trenches worked around the clock. The resistance had spent months gathering resources for this moment." Patricia walked through the assembly area where captured Axoni technology was being integrated with human ingenuity. "They've never had to innovate under pressure," she told Colonel Wilson. "We've been doing it our entire history. While engineers worked, Major Diane Lee trained the pilots and Marines who would operate the vessels. Former fighter pilots, civilian aviators, and even video game champions with exceptional spatial reasoning were recruited. The Axoni have perfect formation and follow procedures exactly," Diane explained during combat drills. "This makes them predictable. We'll use chaotic patterns and unconventional tactics they won't anticipate." The troops trained in zero-gravity combat, using underwater facilities that simulated space conditions. They learned to use the frequency weapons Chen's team had perfected, now miniaturized for personal use. 3 months after the Mars mission, the first test of humanity's new capabilities came. An Axoni mining operation on the Moon had been identified as a critical supply node for their Earth operations. Colonel Wilson authorized a strike using 2 completed vessels. The mission launched from the Pacific base, using the Moon's dark side, to approach undetected. The human ships, piloted by Air Force veterans, struck with precision targeting the facility's power systems. They encountered 4 Axoni security vessels, engaging them with frequency-modulated weapons that disrupted their systems. All 4 alien ships were disabled without human casualties. The mining facility was destroyed, and both Earth vessels returned safely. For the first time, the Axoni had lost a direct engagement. Analysis of their communications revealed confusion and something new in their transmissions. Concern. "Colonel." Wilson addressed the growing fleet as more ships came online. Maps displayed Axoni positions worldwide, with key targets marked for the first wave of attacks. "For nearly a year they've believed us beaten," he told the assembled forces. "They've never faced an enemy who was knocked down but refused to stay down. In 2 weeks we launch Operation Thunderstrike. We'll hit them simultaneously on all fronts, ground, air, and space." The pilots and crews cheered. Humanity had endured the invasion, adapted to the enemy's technology, and now prepared to do what it had always done best when backed into a corner: fight back with unexpected ferocity. Operation Thunderstrike began at dawn. Across the globe, resistance fighters emerged from hiding to strike Axoni positions simultaneously. The aliens had grown complacent, never expecting a coordinated global counterattack from what they considered a defeated species. In orbit, Captain Ryan Andrews, led the first wave of Earth's hidden fleet. 30 vessels broke atmosphere, their stealth systems active until the last moment. All ships weapons hot, Ryan ordered as they approached the Exoni command vessel. Remember your training. They're predictable. We're not. The alien ships responded with textbook precision, forming defensive patterns that human commanders had studied and prepared for. What followed wasn't the organized space battle the Exoni expected, but chaos carefully engineered by human tacticians. Earth vessels ignored conventional engagement protocols, attacking from multiple vectors with constantly changing formations. The frequency shields developed by Dr. Phillips absorbed the initial Exoni energy weapon salvos, while human ships closed to optimal range. They're trying to regroup, Ryan observed as the alien formation broke apart. Fire frequency disruptors. The new weapons didn't destroy Exoni ships but instead caused cascading system failures. Alien vessels drifted powerless as Earth ships moved to their next targets. On the ground, the battle for major cities had begun. Colonel Laura Stevens led the assault to reclaim Chicago, her forces using sewers and subway tunnels to bypass Exoni. Defenses. Move on my mark, she whispered into her comm unit. Across the city, 2,000 fighters waited for her signal. 3, 2, 1, execute. Resistance fighters erupted from underground access points, targeting the aliens' command centers with frequency weapons. Exoni soldiers fell disoriented as their neural systems overloaded. Those who remained operational found their communications jammed by transmitters placed throughout the city over months of preparation. Similar scenes played out in cities worldwide. The Exoni, trained to fight conventional battles against conventional enemies, found themselves overwhelmed by guerrilla tactics executed with precision. The alien leadership, recognizing the severity of the attack, called for reinforcements. A second wave of Exoni ships entered Earth's atmosphere 6 hours into the battle, only to fly directly into a trap. Human engineers had positioned frequency broadcasters on captured satellites. When the reinforcement fleet arrived, the devices activated, disrupting the aliens' navigation systems. Entire squadrons of ships veered off course, some colliding with each other in the confusion. By nightfall, humans had reclaimed control of 12 major cities. The space battle had resulted in the capture of 17 Exoni vessels intact, with dozens more disabled. In their primary command ship, the Exoni Supreme Commander faced a decision unprecedented in their history. Defeat by a pre-spacefaring species was unthinkable, yet the battle was clearly lost. Activate the planetary pacification protocol, the commander ordered. If we cannot have this world, no one will. The command triggered a response in Exoni facilities worldwide. Devices planted months earlier began powering up. Doomsday weapons designed to render the planet uninhabitable. Human intelligence had anticipated this contingency. Special teams led by Lieutenant Jack Winters had been standing by near each detected alien facility, waiting for this exact signal. All teams, execute override, Jack ordered when their sensors detected the power surge. We have 3 minutes. These specialized squads had trained specifically for this mission, using schematics recovered from Mars. They breached the facilities with precision, fighting through surprised Exoni guards to reach the control centers. The primary device in the Siberian facility, Jack faced the final security protocol. A genetic lock keyed to Exoni DNA. Plan B, he ordered, retrieving a vial containing tissue samples from their captured officer. The scientists had prepared this countermeasure based on data revealing the Exoni's over-reliance on biometric security. One by one, the teams reported success. The Doomsday network was neutralized with seconds to spare. In orbit, Ryan's forces had surrounded the Exoni command ship. Its shields were down, weapons offline. This is Captain Ryan Andrews of Earth Defense Forces, he transmitted. Your ground forces are defeated. Your fleet is disabled. Surrender or be destroyed. For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, a simple message. We surrender. After nearly a year of occupation, Earth had taken back its freedom in less than 24 hours. But the war wasn't over. Humanity now possessed Exoni ships, Exoni technology, and Exoni FTL drives. Colonel Wilson addressed the victory celebration with solemn words. Today, we liberated Earth. Tomorrow, we take the fight to the stars. The Galactic Council needs to understand humanity will never be subjugated again. The captured Exoni ships yielded priceless technology. Engineers worked around the clock to understand the FTL drives that could fold space, allowing travel between star systems in days instead of centuries. Within weeks, humanity had retrofitted their own vessels with the alien tech. Fleet Admiral Maria Bennett, formerly of the U.S. Navy, took command of Earth's first interstellar armada. 20 ships, crewed by the best pilots and soldiers from across the globe, prepared for humanity's first journey beyond the solar system. Our mission has two objectives, Maria explained during the final briefing. First, we pursue the retreating Exoni to ensure they can't return with a larger force. Second, we demand recognition from this Galactic Council. The fleet launched from Earth orbit to cheers from the planet below. For the first time in human history, mankind deliberately left its home system bound for the stars. The journey to the Exoni homeworld took just 6 days using the captured FTL technology. When the human fleet emerged near the alien planet, they discovered a heavily defended system with orbital platforms and defensive ships. They're scrambling to respond, reported the sensor officer on Maria's flagship. Their communications indicate surprise. They didn't expect us to follow them. Maria opened a channel to the Exoni Defense Command. This is Fleet Admiral Bennett, of Earth. Your forces invaded our world unprovoked. We have defeated them and now demand to speak with your leadership and the Galactic Council. The response came quickly. Primitive species are not permitted to use space-folding technology. Stand down immediately. Maria's face hardened. We gave that option to your forces on Earth. They chose war instead. We are extending more courtesy than we received. To demonstrate Earth's resolve, she ordered a precision strike on an unmanned defensive platform. The human ships fired their upgraded weapons, destroying the target instantly. The next target will be military, Maria warned. We did not come seeking war, but we will finish one if necessary. Meanwhile, Ambassador Peter Douglas prepared to lead the diplomatic team. A seasoned negotiator, he had assembled experts in various fields to represent humanity's interests. They've agreed to talks, he told his team as the message came through. But they refused to involve the council. That's not acceptable, Maria responded. Our terms were clear. After further exchange, the Exoni reluctantly revealed the truth. They had acted without council approval in invading Earth, hoping to present the conquest as a fait accompli. Their species held a junior position in the council and had sought to improve their standing through the acquisition of Earth's resources. Maria ordered half the fleet to remain at the Exoni homeworld, while she escorted Ambassador Douglas to the council's headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a distant star. Upon arrival, they found their approach blocked by defensive vessels. The council refuses your request for audience, came the transmission. Retreat immediately or face destruction. Maria's response was to position her ships in attack formation. We are not leaving without being heard. Your member species violated their own laws by attacking Earth. We have the evidence and demand justice. For 3 tense days, the standoff continued. Behind the scenes, several council species became curious about these humans, who had not only defeated the Exoni but had mastered space-folding technology in a matter of months. Finally, a compromise was reached. Ambassador Douglas would be permitted to present Earth's case to a council subcommittee. It's a foot in the door, Peter told Maria. That's all we need. The ambassador's team prepared meticulously, using intelligence gathered from captured Exoni data. They discovered that several council species had been subjugated similarly to Earth before being granted limited membership, essentially becoming client states. When Peter finally stood before the subcommittee, he brought not just accusations against the Exoni, but evidence of the Council's systematic exploitation of developing worlds. Earth does not seek revenge, he concluded his presentation. We seek recognition as equals and protection for other worlds that cannot yet defend themselves. The council representatives seemed unmoved until Peter revealed their final piece of leverage. Broadcasts had been sent to dozens of subjugated worlds detailing how Earth had successfully resisted. "The galaxy is changing," Peter warned them. "You can lead that change or be consumed by it." As the subcommittee deliberated, Maria received a disturbing alert from their security chief, Allison Harper. "Ambassador, Admiral, scan shows energy. Weapons being prepared in the chamber. I believe they plan to eliminate our delegation rather than address our demands." Maria immediately ordered battle stations. The human fleet, still vastly outnumbered, prepared for a fight that might be their last. Security Chief Allison Harper moved with practiced efficiency as she evacuated Ambassador Douglas and his team from the council chamber. Her warning had come just in time. Energy weapons discharged seconds after the humans cleared the doorway. "So much for diplomacy," Peter muttered as they raced toward their shuttle. Aboard the flagship, Admiral Bennett watched as council vessels moved to surround her small fleet. "They're activating weapons," her tactical officer reported. "Show them what Earth has been working on," Maria ordered calmly. The human ships initiated their newest defense system, a scaled-up version of the frequency disruptors that had proven so effective against the Axoni. Developed by Dr. Chen's team and implemented by Patricia Garcia's engineers, the system targeted the standard frequencies used by all council species. The effect was immediate. Council ships drifted powerless, their systems temporarily paralyzed. The demonstration lasted just 30 seconds, long enough to make their point without causing permanent damage. "Open a channel to all council frequencies," Maria commanded. "This is Admiral Bennett of Earth. We came in peace seeking justice. Your attempted assassination of our diplomats and military action against our fleet has been recorded and transmitted back to Earth. Our planet now has the coordinates of every council homeworld." The implied threat hung in the silence. Finally, a new voice responded, deeper and more resonant than the Axoni. "This is High Counselor Varix of the Naraki. I represent the Senior Council. The actions taken against your delegation were unauthorized. We request a ceasefire and renewed diplomatic engagement." Peter's shuttle had returned to the flagship. Despite the attempt on his life, he insisted on continuing negotiations. "The Noraki are one of the founding species," he told Maria. "If they're stepping in directly, we've gotten their attention." The renewed talks took place on neutral ground, a diplomatic vessel positioned between the fleets. As Peter suspected, not all council members had supported the attack on Earth. Several progressive factions, led by the Naraki, had long opposed the exploitation of developing worlds. "Your resistance against the Axoni has caused quite the stir," High Counselor Varix admitted. The Naraki's crystalline body structure glimmered under the chamber lights. "Many subject worlds are now questioning their arrangements with council powers." "That's because those arrangements are exploitation, not partnership," Peter responded. For 3 days, negotiations continued. The human delegation presented evidence of council violations of their own charter regarding treatment of pre-spacefaring civilizations. They proposed amendments that would grant all intelligent species basic rights regardless of technological development. Opposition came from the old guard of the council, species that had benefited most from the existing order. The Axoni representatives were particularly vocal, demanding punishment for Earth's aggression. The debate reached its climax when a junior council member, the Tellarites, revealed that 17 subjugated worlds had already begun their own resistance movements inspired by Earth's example. "The galaxy is changing whether we acknowledge it or not," the Tellarite representative stated. "Humans have proven that technological advantage is not permanent." Outside the negotiation chamber, Maria received a transmission from Earth. Additional, human fleets had launched, equipped with the same technology that had allowed the first expedition to reach council space. "Show them," Peter instructed when Maria shared the news. On the main display, the council representatives watched as feeds showed 3 more human battle groups emerging from FTL jumps at strategic points near council space. "Humanity comes seeking partnership," Peter said into the silence that followed. "But we will accept nothing less than equality." The council fractured along ideological lines. The progressive faction, led by the Naraki, sided with Earth's position. After hours of heated debate, a new charter was drafted, one that recognized the sovereignty of all intelligent species and established protocols for peaceful first contact. The Galactic Confederation replaced the Council, with Earth as a founding member. Ambassador Douglas signed the Charter on humanity's behalf, marking the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. 3 months later, Peter stood before the United Nations in the newly rebuilt Geneva complex. Representatives from 7 former Council species flanked him on the stage. Today marks not just Earth's entry onto the galactic stage, but a fundamental shift in how species interact across the stars, he told the assembly. We have transformed, from victims to leaders, from targets to partners. Admiral Bennett, watching from the audience, reflected on the remarkable journey.